Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about 10 more horror movies that I highly recommend. And with that, let's get to the list.
How did I get so lucky tonight?
I know it isn't true.
Strange Darling is a 2024 horror thriller written and directed by J.T. Molnar. It stars Willa Fitzgerald, Kyle Gallner, and Barbara Hershey. Nothing is what it seems when a twisted one-night stand spirals into a serial killer's vicious murder spree.
Are you a serial killer?
What did you just say?
So if you've watched this channel for the last 6 months or so, you've definitely heard me talk about this movie a couple times. So I'm not going to get into it too much again, but I think it's a brilliant movie. It's so well written, well performed, well shot. Everything about it is executed just so good. But the reason it's on the list this week is because they just added it to Paramount Plus. So anybody that is subscribed to that service can watch it right now. And I'm hoping that because it's on that platform, it'll start to get more eyes, because this movie is still flying way under the radar, much more than it should. Because it's so intense, it's a nail biter, it's twisted, it takes so many twists and turns, and keeps you guessing the entire movie. So if you have yet to see this gem, do yourself a favor and check it out.
Whoa.
Yeah. Trippy.
It's What's Inside is a 2024 comedy thriller written and directed by Greg Jardin. It stars Brittany O'Grady, James Morosini, and Gavin Leatherwood. A pre-wedding party descends into an existential nightmare when an estranged friend shows up with a mysterious suitcase.
It's trippy, huh?
This is such a fun movie and really has not been talked about nearly enough. I talked about this way back in October, I believe, when it was first dropped onto Netflix. And it really hasn't gotten much buzz, and I don't know exactly why that is. Maybe it's because it's a very strange movie. It has a real artistic flair and style to it, but it's really fun, and it's one of those that you have to really pay attention to follow, because it takes so many twists and turns and is definitely a psychological thriller. I also really liked the young cast. I think they all did a great job in this, especially with what they're working with, because the basic premise of this is people switching bodies. And so for an actor having to play one character and then swapping and now having to play a totally different character and have the mannerisms and whatnot of someone else, and it just swaps all over the place and just gets really bonkers. But I think they did a great job with it, and even though it's hard to follow at times, by the end, there's a very satisfying conclusion, and I think it does a great job of kind of wrapping things up and really making it clear to you what exactly happened. And even though this is mostly a comedy, psychological thriller, it has horror moments in it too. So don't go thinking there's nothing horror in it and it's not really worth checking out. So if you're looking for something fun and exciting while also being a brain teaser, I think this is a fantastic pick. Wrong Turn: The Foundation is a 2021 horror movie. Directed by Mike P. Nelson, it's a reimagining of the franchise and the 7th film in the series. It stars Charlotte Vega, Aidan Bradley, and Matthew Modine. Friends hiking the Appalachian Trail are confronted by the Foundation, a community of people who have lived in the mountains for hundreds of years.
They don't come back.
I think this is such a good movie that it's very much gotten a bad rap and really never got a fair shake, because as soon as people heard the name Wrong Turn, they went into this and compared it to the original, and they didn't see the Cannibal Brothers, and they just never gave it a fair chance. At least that's my opinion, because I think this movie is really, really good. And I like that they have now attached the name The Foundation to it, because it really is a reimagining. It does a totally different thing with it. It's a very different tone to it. It doesn't get crazy gory on the same level as the original ones, yet it still does have its own moments and gore and violence and all of that. It's just, it goes into a very cult, folk, gothic-y type of direction that is very different from most of the Wrong Turn movies. And honestly, this may be an unpopular opinion, but ever since really the first movie, they haven't been great. And so for me, I was like, if you're gonna do anything in this franchise, you need to reboot it. You need to do something fresh and different. And that's exactly what they did here. And it really bums me out that because it didn't get a fair chance, because people didn't watch this and just let it be what it's gonna be, it just didn't get the love or buzz or anything it deserved, and now we'll probably never see any sequels to it or anything really doing anything with what they started here. Because I'd be much more interested to see where they would go with this going forward than I am to see them go back to the cannibals and the silliness that this franchise had become. But if you haven't seen this since it first came out, or if you're one of those out there that heard the negative response to it and so you never gave it a chance, I think it's a good time to check it out, especially since it's available on Paramount Plus, because I think it's a much better movie than it's given credit for. The Monster is a 2016 Canadian horror movie, written and directed by Brian Bertino. It stars Zoe Kazan and Ella Ballantine. The plot follows a troubled mother and her adolescent daughter, who find themselves stranded at night on a country road with a malicious creature hunting them.
Let's go back to the car. Dogs don't got teeth like this.
This is a damn good movie. It's a very small little A24 movie, small production, so you can't go into it expecting a big action-packed creature feature or anything like that. It's one that there is a creature, but it's very much in the shadows. It's very much about the dread and the buildup and the anticipation and the anxiety and all these different things. But beyond all that, the layers and stuff that goes on underneath all that, that's where the true story here is, and that's what really has impact in this movie, because the performances here from both these actresses are just brilliant. Because it's about this mother who's struggling with substances, and it's an allegory in a lot of ways for that. But the way that it unfolds, the way it's presented, is really interesting. So if you enjoy slow burn, art house, indie horror, this one is a great pick.
They like you.
Talk to Me is a 2022 Australian supernatural horror movie, directed by Danny and Michael Philippou in their feature directorial debut. It stars Sophie Wilde, Alexandra Jensen, and Joe Bird. When a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on the new thrill until one of them goes too far and unleashes terrifying supernatural forces.
Talk to me.
So there's two reasons that I included this on the list this week. For one, it is now added to Netflix as well as Paramount Plus, so it's just even more places where you could check this out if you haven't yet. But even if you have, this is a great rewatch. There's a lot of layers, a lot of nuance and things that go on in this movie that is fun on a second watch. But the other reason I bring this up is that the Philippou brothers have a new movie coming out this summer called Bring Her Back. And it looks incredible. It looks so creepy, so unnerving. And it's so exciting because I loved this movie. It was my second favorite movie for 2023, right behind When Evil Lurks. And so to see that their follow-up looks like it's going to be really good as well is just so exciting, because I love indie horror. I love independent filmmakers that are doing creative, original properties. I am such a big fan of anybody out there making films that does their own thing. And that's what's so exciting here, because not only is their first movie a one of a kind, its own thing, but now their follow-up to that looks like it's going to be just as original, just as unique as well. So I just can't wait to see that this summer. But this is one of the more creative, original, supernatural horror movies that we've seen in quite a while, and that's what's so exciting about it, because it has a unique look, style, and all these things to it, on top of being super well written and having real symbolism, because in a lot of ways this hand is a substitute for drug addiction and party drugs and all of that, and this movie is really that, but using the embalmed hand as a surrogate for it. So I just think Talk to Me is an incredible movie that if you have yet to see, do yourself a favor, get over to Netflix and check it out.
You're crazy.
I'm crazy! Enemy is a 2013 psychological thriller. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, it stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Melanie Laurent, and Isabella Rossellini. A mild-mannered college professor discovers an actor who looks exactly like him and becomes obsessed with his personal life.
Anthony Clare, 3650 Rathburn Road.
This is such a stylish, very, very cool movie. And everybody is a fan of Denis Villeneuve now with the Dune movies. Everybody just thinks he's a genius. But this was back before he was really quite as well known and popular, and people kind of didn't know about this. Even now, this movie is very much flown under the radar. But it's very stylish and creative and really a mindfuck. It just goes in so many directions, keeps you guessing, and it's just weird, but in a fun way and an interesting, compelling, can't take your eyes off of it way. And Jake Gyllenhaal, like he always is fantastic in this. He plays both these characters in this, and they're both very, very different. So it's a real challenge for him because he's got to act together, but in these very different ways. So if you're in the mood for a strange, bizarre, psychological thriller, this is one to definitely add to your list.
This is not real.
As I've always believed, there's nothing that can't be explained.
Oddity is a 2024 supernatural horror movie, written and directed by Damian McCarthy. It stars Carolyn Bracken, Willem Lee, and Tang Murphy. The story's about a blind medium who tries to uncover the truth behind her sister's death with the help of her psychic abilities.
Why do you want it?
He took my sister's life. I want to see what was going through his mind.
This was one of the biggest surprises last year because I didn't know anything about it until I just basically walked into a theater. It was like, hey, a new horror movie, a little indie one. I'm going to go check it out. And was blown away. This movie is very fun. It's super creepy, very atmospheric, and it executes that in such a well done way that it's very effective. Because it's not that this movie is the most unique movie ever done. It's the execution. It's the atmosphere and the timing and the pacing and everything that makes it so effective to watch. Because there's one scene in particular in this that actually got me, that actually scared me, at least to a certain extent. And that is very rare because I watch so much horror. It is extremely rare that a jump scare or anything will get me at all. But the way this one is set up, the timing of it, the atmosphere, the look, all of that just really got me. Besides that, I just love the look of it, all the different curio items, because the medium owns a curio shop. And so you get these little weird items, but the main one is this big wooden man, and he just sits there, but he is so disturbing because of the fact that he doesn't do anything. and you're just constantly waiting to see if he does anything. And I'm not going to spoil what his place in this movie is for you in case you haven't seen it, but it's very interesting and fun the way it all plays out. So they just added this to Hulu. It's been on Shudder for a while, and it still is available on Shudder, but it's on Hulu now. So I'm really hoping that it gets a wider audience and more people are finally able to see this little gem. So if you're one of those out there that have yet to see Oddity, I think it's a great pick for this weekend.
Only demons should fear me. You're not a demon, are you?
Frailty is a 2001 psychological horror movie. Directed and starring Bill Paxton, it also stars Matthew McConaughey and Powers Booth. A mysterious man arrives at the office of an FBI agent and recounts his childhood, how his religious fanatic father received visions telling him to destroy people who were in fact demons.
I'll be sending a list of the first 7 demons.
These are people's names.
And they'll look like people, but they're not.
This is one of the very best underseen, underappreciated movies out there because it just has never really gotten the love or attention that it deserves because it is so well done in every way. It's one of those movies that I think fans of movies like Seven and Silence of the Lambs would love because there is kind of this true crime detective mystery element to it. But then on top of that, it does also take some supernatural twists and turns, at least on some level. And Bill Paxton is phenomenal in this, but so is Matthew McConaughey. It's just well acted, well shot. It's just absolutely intense, keeps you on the edge of your seat and keeps you guessing from beginning to end. It's really one of my favorite movies ever, and especially when you're talking about underappreciated ones. But Frailty is available for free to watch right now on Plex as well as Freevee. So no matter what, there's no excuses. If you've yet to see this, definitely go and check it out. Or if you've seen it before, it's a great rewatch.
I want to go home.
I know.
Moon is a 2009 sci-fi psychological thriller, directed by Duncan Jones in his directorial debut, and stars Sam Rockwell. An astronaut experiences a personal crisis as he nears the end of a 3-year solitary stint mining on the far side of the moon.
3 years is a long haul, you know.
I know you're really lonely up there, but I'm proud of you.
2 weeks to go, Sam.
2 weeks to go, buddy.
Sam Rockwell is just phenomenal in this movie. And without spoiling it, I can't get into exactly why that is, but his performance is just great in this. There's humor, it's weird, it's strange, there's elements of very artsy, slow burn kind of stuff, but then as it goes, it definitely starts to mess with your head, and it gets more and more fascinating and really keeps you invested. Even though it doesn't seem like there's a ton happening for a while, stick with it because this movie really goes for it, especially in the end. But it's another one of those movies that just not enough people have seen. Every time I've mentioned it in the past, people are always like, wow, I never heard of that movie, and I'm a huge fan of Sam Rockwell. That's crazy. And it's because it's a very small production kind of movie. I mean, there is almost no cast in it. It's really just Sam Rockwell and then a few voice performances. But trust me when I say, if you pay attention to this movie, you'll lock in. You'll be completely sucked into this before too long. It is just one of my absolute favorite small psychological sci-fi thrillers out there. But I don't want to say more because it's one of those that the less you know about it, the better, because it does take some twists and turns and it'll keep you guessing for sure all the way to the end. But I think this movie is fantastic, and it's one that I highly recommend.
I want my body back.
Come and get it.
Freaky is a 2020 comedy slasher horror movie. Directed by Christopher Landon, it stars Vince Vaughn, Catherine Newton, and Uriah Shelton. It's a twist on Freaky Friday, as it focuses on a teenage girl who unintentionally switches bodies with a serial killer.
It turns out,
Where am I?
I didn't get killed.
Oh my God, why do I sound like that?
I woke up in the killer's body.
It is an absolute crime how little this movie's talked about, how just it completely went by, and it's like a few people have seen it. Nobody really talked about it. And I know that a huge amount of that has to do with the fact that it came out during the pandemic and it just never got the attention that it should have. But it's just so fun and interesting. It's gory, it's weird. It pays homage to all the different great slasher horror movies from Friday the 13th to Scream. On top of that, Catherine Newton is now just one of our favorite horror girls out there. And this one is one of her best performances because she gets to play a serial killer in this. And it's also just great seeing Vince Vaughn playing a teenage girl. And he does a great job with that. But it's hilarious while also being a really fun slasher. There's kills, there's suspense, there's all the things you want from a slasher, as well as a lot of really great comedy. And it was done by Christopher Landon, who, if you're not familiar with, he did Happy Death Day. So it has a lot of that same kind of tone to it, while also leaning more into the gore and all that, because this one is R-rated. Because in Happy Death Day, it's PG-13, and he's talked about how he enjoyed making those movies, but he's wanted to do something that was just gory and really could lean into the slasher things that he loves and's grown up loving so much. And so with this one, he got to really get into the kills and make some really creative, gory, bloody, fun stuff. Either way, I think it's a very underappreciated movie and one that is a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! And I want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description, or you can become a channel member by clicking on the join button down there and help support the channel that way. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me talk about the 10 best horror movies so far in 2025. And I'll see you guys next time.